Given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected. I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
The Game of Thrones is back in the United Kingdom. Liz Truss has accepted defeat and resigned as Prime Minister. With Truss now out of the picture, the battle for the UK's top job is set to begin again. This begs two simple questions. How did we get here, and who comes next? To recap, Britain's political crisis began just a month ago when Finance Minister Kwasi Kwarteng announced a disastrous mini-budget in the House of Commons. He proposed that the British government spend billions of pounds to help households struggling with high energy costs. That's a policy that made some sense. However, he was also looking to reduce government revenues by giving billions in tax cuts to the UK's wealthiest people. Kwarteng and Truss's grand plan to pay for all of this was simple: borrow, borrow, and borrow. Markets did not buy what Truss was selling, and the British economy tanked. The pound collapsed, investors dumped British government bonds, and the Bank of England had to intervene to stop a total economic meltdown. Barely a few weeks into office, Truss had already destroyed her ruling Conservative Party's long-standing reputation for competent economic management. After hiding from the media for a few weeks, she finally fired Kwasi Kwarteng as Finance Minister. Truss hoped that the crisis would stop there, but things only got worse. She appointed Jeremy Hunt, a former foreign minister, to take charge of the nation's finances. Now, Hunt was an odd choice for Truss. He is a well-known moderate on economic issues, and importantly, voted for Rishi Sunak in the recently concluded leadership elections. As soon as Hunt took office, he made clear that Truss's economic plans were a mistake. He reversed her tax cuts and called for some taxes to be increased, which Truss promised she would never do. Hunt was brought in as a human shield for Truss to hide behind. Instead, he seized control and threw the Prime Minister under the bus. Many called Hunt the country's de facto Prime Minister. If this already sounds like a train wreck, there is more. Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who backed a stronger line against illegal immigration to the United Kingdom, resigned in dramatic fashion. The official reason for her exit was that she violated rules by sharing confidential documents through her personal email. Now, that's a serious matter, but it's hardly a firing offense. Some speculate that the real reason for her exit is clearly laid out in her resignation letter. The business of government relies upon people accepting responsibility for their mistakes. Pretending we haven't made mistakes, carrying on as if everyone can't see that we have made them, and hoping that things will magically come right is not serious politics. I have made a mistake. I accept responsibility. I resign. It seems fairly clear that Braverman was also referring to the Prime Minister's mistakes in the last few weeks. The former Home Secretary also couldn't resist a dig at Truss. I have concerns about the direction of this government. Not only have we broken key pledges that were promised to our voters, but I have had serious concerns about this government's commitment to honouring our manifesto commitments. That was absolutely stinging criticism from one of Truss's most senior ministers. Braverman's exit was the second one by a major cabinet minister in just 1 week. But that is still not the end of it. In a truly confusing move, Truss appointed Grant Shapps as Home Minister. All you need to know about him is, number 1, he voted for Rishi Sunak to become Prime Minister. Number 2, Truss fired him as Transport Minister just weeks ago. And number 3, he publicly plotted to have Truss removed as Prime Minister. He famously said that Truss had just 10 days to save her premiership. We couldn't make this up if we tried. In the end, it was just too much for Truss. A recent poll showed that only 9% of the people approved of Truss's job performance, while a staggering 70% disapproved. That made Truss the most unpopular Prime Minister in recent history. She acknowledged that she couldn't deliver on her promises and resigned. Which leads us to another question. Who comes next? Let's meet the contenders to become the UK's next Prime Minister. Most will think that former Chancellor Rishi Sunak has a decent shot at the top job. After all, he did finish second after Truss in the contest for Prime Minister. A recent poll among members of the Conservative Party found that 23% would back Sunak for Prime Minister. While he is a strong contender, Sunak's popularity was badly damaged because of the role he played in removing Prime Minister Boris Johnson. In August, almost half of the Conservative Party membership disapproved of Sunak precisely because of this reason. Sunak will also face opposition from more conservative members of parliament, who disagree with his economic policies. Former Defence Minister Penny Mordaunt also has a fighting chance at becoming Britain's next Prime Minister. She finished third in the leadership race after Truss and Sunak. She might also have less problems with the more conservative members of Parliament. Members who were elected in the Boris Johnson wave of 2019 might feel that she is their best shot of holding on to their seats. That leaves the real dark horse, Boris Johnson. When members of the Conservative Party were asked who they would like to see as the next Prime Minister, 32% chose Johnson. Sunak once again came second with 23% of the vote. Unlike his competition, Johnson has actually won a general election and has proven popularity with some sections of the public. However, he also has a reputation for chaotic management, and his time as Prime Minister was riddled with scandals. Truss is on her way out, and that means Britain's Game of Thrones is set to begin again.